then let's get started. Okay. Imagine, go back to your adolescence and imagine living in a third world Middle Eastern country. Your parents struggle to provide you and your siblings with the basic necessities like food and shelter. Normally, you'd be in the middle of your school career, but here you never even stepped into a classroom. Due to circumstances at home, you are forced to work on a farm and take hand to provide for your family. Excuse me. This was everyday life for you, and all of a sudden you've been accused of the murder of a distant neighbor's friend. You know that you haven't done it, but the police take you in for questioning anyways. During the interrogation, you are constantly beaten and tortured until you confess. In trial, lack of evidence and multiple quote-unquote witnesses overrule your plea and you are convicted of murder and sentenced to the death penalty. The rest of your life you'll be rotting away in jail or killed by the law before your time is supposed to be up. You ask yourself, why did this happen to me? Well, in Yemen, the judiciary system doesn't give the general population any hope for a safer or secure future. It's all based on money and power. According to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 11 specifically states that under Section 1, anyone charged with a penal offense is not guilty until proven. Going on to Section 2, it expands by saying that no one shall be held guilty of any penal offense on account of any act or omission which did not constitute a penal offense under national or international law at the time it was committed, nor shall a heavier penalty be imposed than the one that was applicable at the time the penal offense was committed. In many cases, if accused of a crime that was not committed by the person, the Yemeni police will collect the person in question, essentially torture them until a confession is made, whether innocent or guilty. Oftentimes, in the case of juveniles, it's very hard to prove the actual age of a person in the court of law because many children are born outside of cities and because of the rarity of hospitals, a majority of them aren't registered at birth. Thus, this proves to be a common issue among young people in court. So, is it fair to take the lives of young adults without formal and reliable investigations? Well, I personally don't think so. But what can we do to prevent this issue? Well, a little background information. In 1994, Yemen had passed a law that prohibited anyone to be sentenced to the death penalty if the act in question was committed under the legal age of 18. Since then, at least 14 boys have been executed, the last being in 2013. That's when international media started to bring more attention to a girl in Yemen named Hind al-Barthi, whose execution was rushed because of the attention it was receiving. But because of the media, more activists have been rising to stop the issue. But the government and its powers have also encountered with multiple factors, mainly consisting of corruption. The government needs to become less reliant on oil and to help build a diversified economy which provides a wide range of jobs for Yemenis, who in turn must be better educated and healthier. Quoted by Salisbury. So the recommendation I choose to endorse came from the CNN website and was the article based on how Yemen should abolish corruption and to help the poor. So I made a connection with Peter Salisbury's idea to my issue. So by using his idea, it kind of helps me enhance my issue and find new ways of finding solutions for it. So continuing on. If Yemen's government became less dependent on its oil industry and used its funds to other causes to benefit its people, both the public and the country's economy would improve. Excuse me. Say if more money was put into the education system, many children would lead better futures by gaining knowledge in a variety of fields, which could later let them become versatile in more than one skill. By doing this, the crime rate would significantly decrease all over Yemen, and more could be done to help the country as a whole. As I am speaking, hundreds of young men and women, most of whom remain uneducated, are spending their first years of their adolescence rotting away in jail due to multiple factors, including a lack of birth certificate to verify their age when the so to prove that they were innocent when the crime was committed. Corruption within and out of the system. So this deals with bribes given to officers as well as personal and family matters that are entangled into the issue. Excuse me. Continuing on. This list also includes lack of modern studies and medicines done to perform the most simplest tasks, such as investigating crime scenes thoroughly, collecting and storing evidence, analyzing a person's age, or even simple documentation. Since Yemen's government is so dependent on the oil industry, the amount, the amount of jobs are extremely limited within a certain percentage of people working. This leads to most of its population to be illiterate and unemployed. Being unemployed and illiterate has its effects on most of its people. That is why most of them rely on agriculture and agriculture to survive. And starting at certain ages, parents of children expect them to work in the streets of the city doing multiple things such as beg or run shops just to earn their daily bread and butter. Another big issue is child marriage. Girls are considered to be a burden in a country like this, so getting rid of them as soon as possible is a must for those living in poverty. Oftentimes, the parents of these young girls get them married as soon as they're 10 years old. And what often happens is that they are abused and raped. So obviously, living in these conditions will lead to deceit from even the closest people around these children. And if they end up in jail, what happens most often than not is that their parents also abandon them, believing that the child has caused dishonor to the family name. So if Yemen's government expands in their range of jobs and abolishes corruption in this way, these children would lead happier lives, but in turn, the people of Yemen have to be educated in order to enhance this situation. So by encouraging the government to become versatile in their range of jobs for people and having themselves be educated, the corruption in the system would stop. And so as time would go on, technology would slowly progress and increase to bring modern tools and tactics for helping people. So the country's economy would gain greater value, and hopefully this would also bring down crime rate and poverty as well. Thank you.